Hey everyone, join us today as we chit chat a little bit about how to handle your cruise if you encounter some rough seas. Let's go. Hey everyone, John here from Bite Size Cruises. Thank you so much for coming to check out this video. Today we're going to talk all about rough seas on your cruise. No one enjoys it, no one loves it. Does it happen a lot? Not always. But today we're going to go through what causes those rough seas, how to handle it, how to prepare for it ahead of time, how to deal with it when it comes on, and how to still make sure that you have an amazing cruise. So, if you've ever been on a cruise and you've experienced some type of rough seas or seasickness, today we're going to talk all about that. I definitely suffer from a little bit of seasickness. I have been on 60 some cruises now, and I think I've only had like 3 or 4 really rough days in that big time period. Occasionally there'll be a little bit of rough seas, but it usually doesn't dampen my spirit to just try to push through it and ignore it as much as I can and kind of make sure I'm having a great time. But first, let's talk about what causes it and does it affect all ships? There is a myth out there that rough seas only affect small ships. It does not. It affects big ships just as much as it affects small ships. Now, newer ships do have stabilizers, which we'll talk about in a minute. However, if you are on a small ship or a big ship, you definitely can feel the motion. Here's the thing, if the ship is going from left to right or from right to left, and it's kind of gentle, that's generally okay. Most people are not going to experience seasickness from that. It's kind of like a rocking motion. Now, if it's severe, again, you're probably still going to have seasickness. The bigger issue is the up and down, is what's commonly known as the ship rolling. So if the ship is pitching and rolling, basically what happens is if it's doing it very gently, same thing, you're going to get that nice little rocking motion, right? When it starts really going up and you can count and then it comes down, that's really when you experience the most or the worst seasickness. Even if it's coming in from the corners, it's going to be bad. So look, there's no way to predict this. Sometimes it's caused by swells from a storm, if there's a big storm going on. Sometimes it's caused by wind. Sometimes you might get wind just pushing. Obviously, that's not going to affect the front to back. It's going to be more the side to side, but it could be more drastic. So those are the things that generally cause rough seas. Obviously, if there's a big, like an earthquake, which would cause some type of effect on the seas, which may not be a tsunami, but that rough seas, if there's a hurricane, anything like that going on, you could definitely be affected by that. Now, people will tell you that certain parts, like the Atlantic, are more prone to rough seas. All depends. I've had just as many bad experiences in the Caribbean as I have going up and down the Atlantic. A lot of my cruises go up and down the Atlantic, and most of them have been pretty great. So that's what causes it. So it does affect all different ships, doesn't matter. Now, newer ships do have stabilizers. Those stabilizers are not on all the time. Generally speaking, if they are going full speed, they don't really put the stabilizers on because it's going to slow the ship down a little bit. But if we encounter bad weather or they know it's going to be a little bit rough, they will put the stabilizers out there like plane wings that come out on the sides. They are underneath the water, and it basically stops the ship from going side to side as much as it could so it doesn't feel uncomfortable for you. The cruise lines, I would say within the past 10 years, I've seen the cruise lines care much more about this than they used to. I remember being on a few cruises where I felt like we were just plowing through bad weather. And I think now there's meteorologists that work for some of the cruise lines, and there's a bunch of different things, and they really do try to make it as pleasant an experience as humanly possible for you, and safe, of course. Now, keep in mind, they could get through, these cruise ships can go through like serious weather, and they generally don't, because it would be a miserable experience for you, and they don't want that. So, what can you do about it before your cruise? 1, check the weather. See what's going on. That way you can be prepared. You can't change the weather, obviously, but you can at least be prepared for it. 2, talk to your doctor about what they recommend, if there's anything they can prescribe for you. We'll talk about some of those things in a little bit. But just get a opinion on what they think you should do. Another one, do you even know if you get seasick? Have you been on a boat? Have you gotten sick before? It might be vastly different. I tell people all the time, I get really sick on like the Cape May ferry, which is like a little ferry boat, but it doesn't affect me as much on bigger ships. So then what you could do is choose a cabin when you're booking that is centrally located and low on the ship. That is the best place to be. It's not that you're not going to feel it there. If the ship's really moving, you're going to feel it, and you're going to be moving around the ship anyway, but that's the best place to be, is low and center of the ship. So we'll talk about that as well when we talk about what to do once you're on the ship. Next up, when you're on the ship, if you do have medications, take them before you have an issue. Most medications take a day, up to 12 hours, 4 hours to kick in. So that's something to be aware of. If you know, keep an eye on the weather, make sure you know what's going on and just be a little proactive with those. Be careful walking around the ship. It does get rocky. If it's rocky, you are going to be fading side to side in the hallways. And you don't want to bump into things and fall or hurt yourself. Next, stay low, like we said. And a big one for me is just keep active. I just try to keep it out of my mind. The more you're doing things, the more you're moving around, the less you're thinking about, oh, I don't feel good. Eat dry foods. Keep yourself kind of not full, but keep something in your stomach. Drink some ginger ale. You know, all the like tips and tricks. Even some soda, just some soda. And then just try to relax and enjoy yourself. If maybe you read, maybe you listen to some music, and then worst case scenario, take your meds and just go to sleep and take a little bit of a nap. And hopefully when you wake up, you're going to be feeling much, much better. So let's talk about remedies that you could use for seasickness. There are some homeopathic ones. You could decide whether or not they work or not. So ginger pills are one of them. You can take ginger pills or ginger candies. There are people out there that say green apples. Obviously the ginger ale, the soda a little bit. The next one is pressure bands. I wear them. I don't know if they work or not. It's a good placebo treatment for me. I just do it. It makes me feel better about it. So you could get those pressure bands. They have really advanced ones too that kind of pulse. But they are expensive, so not knowing if they work or not, I probably wouldn't recommend those. And then you can get the scopolamine patch, which is the patch that goes behind your ear, which kind of helps with nausea and motion sickness. Obviously, there's going to be your faction of people out there that take over-the-counter medicines like Dramamine or Bonine. I've had a little bit of success with Bonine. Which is basically a low dose of meclizine. You could also get a prescription for meclizine. Keep in mind, if you get meclizine, it will knock you out. It is an anti-nausea, anti-vert, so it will keep you, it'll help for sure, but you may sleep through it as well. You might get both. And then some people take Zofran, which is another prescription medicine. Zofran technically is not for motion sickness, but some people swear by it. It's not supposed to work for seasickness or motion sickness, but you know, whatever, if it works for you, thumbs up. But of course, ask your doctor before you get any of those medications. Of course, with Bonine and Dramamine, you can get those over the counter as well as the pressure bands. So those are just some tips and tricks. Again, the biggest thing for me is I like to get outside. I like to get some fresh air. I do try to stay midship a little bit. A lot of times you'll wind up in the casino. I don't think it's a coincidence that the casino is usually low and in the middle of the ship. But just try to enjoy yourself, have a good time, and remember, 99% of your cruises are going to be smooth sailing. But if you are doing a transatlantic or something like that, you may run into a little bit of bad weather. And there's storms and all different things that pop up. So better to be prepared and not need it than be out there and not be feeling great. Those are my little tips and tricks for experiencing rough seas out on your cruise. Hope you have a wonderful day. I would love for you to like and subscribe to our channel. Put out a brand new cruise video every single day. Thanks so much. Happy cruising. Bye.